Welcome to English Listening Practice. I'm Emma Richards, and today we're going on a listening journey that will truly transform your English comprehension skills. This episode is specially designed for B1 and B2 learners who want to challenge themselves with real English conversations, stories, and interviews. We'll practice listening to different accents, speeds, and topics that you'll encounter in the real world. Here's how today's episode works. I'll present various listening segments, each followed by comprehension questions and vocabulary explanations. Don't worry if you don't catch everything the first time. That's completely normal and part of the learning process. I recommend having a notebook ready. After each segment, I'll give you time to think about the questions before providing the answers. You can pause anytime to replay sections or take notes. Today's episode includes 5 different listening challenges: a travel story, a job interview, a restaurant conversation, a news report, and a friendship dialogue. Each segment gets progressively more challenging, so you'll build confidence as we go. Remember, listening is a skill that improves with practice. Even native speakers sometimes ask for clarification, so don't be discouraged if you need to listen more than once. Let's begin our listening adventure. Our first listening segment is a travel story. You'll hear me tell you about a memorable trip to Scotland. Listen for the main events, the problems I encountered, and how I solved them. Pay attention to past tense verbs and time expressions. Here's the story. Listen carefully. Last summer, I decided to take a solo trip to Scotland. I'd always dreamed of visiting the Scottish Highlands and seeing the famous Loch Ness. I booked a small rental car and planned a week-long adventure. My journey began in Edinburgh, where I spent 2 days exploring the historic Royal Mile and visiting Edinburgh Castle. The weather was surprisingly sunny. Everyone told me it would rain constantly, but I was lucky. On the 3rd day, I drove north toward Inverness. The scenery was absolutely breathtaking: rolling green hills, ancient castles, and sheep everywhere. However, about halfway through my journey, disaster struck. My car broke down in a small village called Pitlochry. I was initially panicked because I don't know much about cars, and I was in the middle of nowhere. But the local people were incredibly helpful. A kind elderly man named Donald offered to help me. He called his nephew, who was a mechanic, and within 2 hours, my car was fixed. While waiting for the repair, Donald invited me for tea at his cottage. We talked for hours about Scottish history, traditions, and local legends. He even taught me some basic Scottish Gaelic phrases. It turned out to be the highlight of my entire trip. The rest of my journey went smoothly. I saw Loch Ness, no monster unfortunately, and hiked through the stunning Highlands. The experience taught me that sometimes the best travel memories come from unexpected situations and the kindness of strangers. Now, let's check your comprehension. I'll give you a moment to think about each question before providing the answer. Question 1. How long was Emma's trip to Scotland planned to be? The answer is 1 week. I said I planned a week-long adventure. Question 2. What problem did Emma encounter during her trip? Her car broke down in a small village called Pitlochry. Question 3. Who helped Emma with her car problem? An elderly man named Donald and his nephew, who was a mechanic. Question 4. What did Emma learn from Donald besides getting her car fixed? She learned about Scottish history, traditions, local legends, and some basic Scottish Gaelic phrases. Question 5. Did Emma see the Loch Ness Monster? No, she didn't. I mentioned no monster, unfortunately. Excellent! Now let's review some key vocabulary from this story. Solo trip, travelin' alone. Breathtaking, extremely beautiful or impressive. Disaster struck, something bad happened suddenly. In the middle of nowhere, in a very remote place. Highlight, the best or most important part. Stunning, extremely beautiful. Kindness of strangers, help from people you don't know. Notice how I used past tense throughout the story and included time expressions like last summer, on the third day, and within 2 hours. These help organize the narrative chronologically. Friendly, conversational, and natural. Speak as if talking to a friend. Use slight pauses and emphasis to keep it engaging. Avoid sounding scripted. Keep it real and relatable. Now let's practice with a job interview dialogue. You'll hear a conversation between a job candidate named Sarah and an interviewer named Mr. Johnson. Listen for Sarah's qualifications, her experience, and how she answers challenging questions. This segment will help you with formal English, professional vocabulary, and interview techniques. Pay attention to the polite language and how Sarah structures her responses. Here's the interview. As Mr. Johnson, professional, slightly formal tone. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you for coming in today. Please, have a seat. Sarah, confident, friendly tone. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I'm excited about this opportunity. Excellent. Let's begin. Could you tell me a bit about your background and why you're interested in this marketing position? Certainly. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing from State University, and I've been working in digital marketing for the past 3 years. Currently, I'm a marketing specialist at TechStart Solutions, where I manage social media campaigns and content creation. I'm particularly drawn to this position because your company has such an innovative approach to sustainable products. I believe my experience in digital marketing, combined with my passion for environmental causes, would be a great fit for your team. That's impressive. Can you give me an example of a successful campaign you've managed? Absolutely. Last year, I led a campaign for our eco-friendly product line that increased online sales by 45% over 3 months. The campaign included Instagram and Facebook advertising, influencer partnerships, and a content series about sustainable living. The key was understanding our target audience, young professionals who care about environmental impact but still want convenient solutions. We created content that was both informative and engaging, which really resonated with our customers. Excellent results. Now, what would you say is your greatest weakness? That's a great question. I'd say my greatest weakness is that I sometimes focus too much on perfecting details, which can slow down my initial productivity. However, I've been working on this by setting strict deadlines for myself and learning to prioritize which details truly matter for the overall success of a project. I've also started using project management tools to better track my time and ensure I'm meeting all deadlines while still maintaining quality standards. I appreciate your honesty. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? In 5 years, I see myself in a senior marketing role, possibly leading a team of marketing professionals. I'd love to specialize further in sustainable marketing strategies and help companies communicate their environmental initiatives effectively. I'm also interested in continuing my education, perhaps pursuing a master's degree in marketing or taking specialized courses in data analytics to complement my creative skills. Those are ambitious but realistic goals. Do you have any questions for me about the position or the company? Yes, I do. Could you tell me more about the team I'd be working with? And what would you say are the biggest challenges facing the marketing department right now? Great questions. You'd be working with a team of 5 marketing professionals, and we're currently focused on expanding our reach in the European market. The biggest challenge is adapting our messaging for different cultural contexts while maintaining our brand consistency. That sounds both challenging and exciting. I actually have some experience with international marketing from my previous internship, so I'd be eager to contribute to that effort. Wonderful. Well, Sarah, thank you for your time today. We'll be in touch within the next week. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. I really enjoyed our conversation and look forward to hearing from you. Now, let's test your comprehension of this interview. Question 1. What is Sarah's current job title? Marketing Specialist at TechStart Solutions. Question 2. What impressive result did Sarah achieve with her campaign? She increased online sales by 45% over 3 months. Question 3. What does Sarah say is her greatest weakness? She focuses too much on perfecting details, which can slow down her initial productivity. Question 4. What are Sarah's 5-year career goals? She wants to be in a senior marketing role, possibly leading a team, and specializing in sustainable marketing strategies. She also wants to continue her education. Question 5. What challenge is the marketing department currently facing? Expanding their reach in the European market and adapting messaging for different cultural contexts while maintaining brand consistency. Let's review the professional vocabulary from this interview. Background, personal and professional history, drawn to, attracted to or interested in, resonated with, connected with or appealed to, target audience, the specific group of people a campaign aims to reach, prioritize, to put things in order of importance, ambitious but realistic, challenging goals that are still achievable, brand consistency, maintaining the same brand message across different markets, be in touch, to contact someone, look forward to anticipate something positively. Notice how Sarah used the STAR method, situation, task, action, result, when describing her campaign success. This is a great technique for answering interview questions with specific examples. For our third segment, let's listen to a restaurant conversation. You'll hear a dialogue between a server named Maria and 2 customers, James and Lisa, who are celebrating their anniversary. Listen for how they order, ask questions about the menu, and handle a small problem. This segment will help you with service industry vocabulary, food descriptions, and polite requests. Pay attention to the informal but polite tone used in restaurants. Here's the restaurant conversation. As Maria. Good evening. Welcome to Bella Vista. Do you have a reservation? As James. Yes, we have a table for 2 under the name James. As Maria. Perfect. Right this way. Here's your table by the window. You have a lovely view of the garden. Can I start you off with something to drink? As Lisa. Oh, this view is beautiful. I'd love to see your wine menu, please. Of course. Here's our wine selection. We have some excellent Italian wines that pair beautifully with our dishes. Are you celebrating something special tonight? As James. Actually, yes, it's our 5th wedding anniversary. Congratulations! That's wonderful! In that case, let me recommend our chef's special appetizer. It's complimentary for anniversary couples. As Lisa, that's so thoughtful. What's the special appetizer? It's our signature bruschetta with fresh tomatoes, basil, and mozzarella, drizzled with balsamic glaze. It's absolutely delicious. As James, that sounds perfect. For wine, could you recommend something that goes well with seafood? I'm thinking of ordering the salmon. Excellent choice. I'd recommend our Pinot Grigio. It's crisp and light, perfect with fish. Lisa, have you decided what you'd like to drink? I'm not much of a wine drinker. Do you have any signature cocktails? Absolutely. Our most popular is the Bella Vista Spritz. It's made with Prosecco, elderflower liqueur, and fresh mint. It's refreshing and not too strong. That sounds perfect. Wonderful. I'll get those drinks started. Take your time with the menu, and I'll be back in a few minutes to take your order. How are we doing? Ready to order? I think so. I'll have the grilled salmon with the herb butter, and could I get the roasted vegetables instead of the rice? Of course. And for you, Lisa, I'm torn between the chicken marsala and the vegetarian pasta. What would you recommend? Both are excellent, but the chicken marsala is one of our most popular dishes. The sauce is rich and creamy, and it comes with garlic mashed potatoes. The pasta is lighter. It has seasonal vegetables and a lovely olive oil and herb sauce. The chicken marsala sounds delicious. I'll go with that. Excellent choices. Your meals will be ready in about 20 minutes. How is everything tasting? The salmon is cooked perfectly, but I think there might be a small issue with my vegetables. They seem a bit cold. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me get you a fresh portion right away. There's no charge, of course. Thank you so much. No need to rush. Everything else is wonderful. I appreciate your patience. And since it's your anniversary, I'll make sure the chef prepares something special for dessert. It's on the house. You're so kind. This has been such a lovely evening. It's our pleasure. Celebrating love is what makes this job wonderful. Now, let's check your understanding of this restaurant conversation. Question 1. What special occasion are James and Lisa celebrating? Their 5th wedding anniversary. Question 2. What complimentary appetizer did Maria offer? Signature bruschetta with fresh tomatoes, basil, and mozzarella drizzled with balsamic glaze. Question 3. What wine did Maria recommend for James's salmon? Pinot Grigio, because it's crisp and light and goes well with fish. Question 4. What drink did Lisa choose? The Bella Vista Spritz, made with Prosecco, elderflower liqueur, and fresh mint. Question 5. What problem occurred during the meal and how was it resolved? James's vegetables were cold. Maria apologized and offered to bring a fresh portion at no charge, plus promised a special dessert on the house. Let's review the restaurant vocabulary. Reservation, booking a table in advance. Pair beautifully, go well together, food and wine. Complimentary, free of charge. Signature dish, a restaurant's special or famous dish. Drizzled with, lightly covered with a sauce. Crisp and light, description of wine that's fresh and not heavy. Torn between, having difficulty choosing. On the house, free, paid for by the restaurant. No need to rush, take your time. Appreciate your patience. Thank you for waiting. Notice how Maria used polite service language like, of course, absolutely, and it's our pleasure. She also handled the complaint professionally by apologizing, offering an immediate solution, and providing extra compensation. Our 4th segment is a news report about a community garden project. This will challenge your listening skills with more formal vocabulary, statistics, and multiple speakers. Listen for the main facts, the benefits of the project, and the different perspectives presented. News reports often include interviews with various people, so you'll hear different voices and speaking styles. Pay attention to how the reporter introduces each speaker and summarizes information. Here's the news report. As news anchor. Good evening. I'm Emma Richards with Channel 7 News. Tonight, we're reporting on an inspiring community initiative that's transforming an abandoned lot in downtown Springfield into a thriving community garden. The Springfield Community Garden Project, launched 6 months ago, has already seen remarkable success. The initiative began when local resident Margaret Chen noticed that a vacant lot on Maple Street had been unused for over 3 years. We spoke with Margaret earlier today about how this project came to life. As Margaret Chen, I was walking my dog past this lot every day, and it just broke my heart to see such a beautiful space going to waste. There's so much concrete in our neighborhood, and families need access to fresh, healthy food. I started by talking to my neighbors, and the response was overwhelming. Within 2 weeks, we had over 50 volunteers and a clear vision for what we wanted to create. As news anchor, the project received initial funding of $25,000 from the City Council and additional donations from local businesses, totaling $8,000. The garden now features 40 individual plots, a communal herb section, and a children's learning area. Dr. Robert Martinez, a nutrition specialist at Springfield General Hospital, explains the health benefits of community gardens. As Dr. Martinez, community gardens provide numerous health benefits. Participants get physical exercise through gardening activities, which can improve cardiovascular health and reduce stress levels. More importantly, these gardens increase access to fresh vegetables and fruits, which is particularly significant in urban areas where healthy food options may be limited or expensive. Studies show that people who participate in community gardens consume more fruits and vegetables than those who don't. As news anchor, the project hasn't been without challenges. Initial concerns included soil contamination, water access, and neighborhood safety. However, the community worked together to address these issues. City environmental engineer Sarah Thompson supervised the soil testing and remediation process. As Sarah Thompson, we conducted comprehensive soil tests and discovered some contamination from the lot's previous use as a gas station. We removed the contaminated soil and brought in certified organic soil for the garden beds. The city also installed a water line and security lighting to ensure the garden is safe and accessible for families to use during daylight hours. Local teacher Amanda Foster has been coordinating the children's education program, which serves 30 students from 3 nearby elementary schools. As Amanda Foster, the children are absolutely fascinated by the growing process. We've integrated garden activities into our science curriculum, teaching them about plant biology, nutrition, and environmental responsibility. Last month, the kids harvested their first tomatoes and peppers, and they were so proud to take them home to their families. It's wonderful to see children develop a connection with their food and understand where it comes from. As news anchor, the garden's success has inspired similar projects in other neighborhoods. 3 additional community gardens are planned for next year, with the city allocating $75,000 for expansion. However, the project faces ongoing challenges. Maintenance costs, seasonal weather challenges, and the need for continued volunteer participation remain concerns. Margaret Chen remains optimistic about the future. This garden has brought our community together in ways I never imagined. Neighbors who had never spoken to each other are now sharing recipes and gardening tips. Children are learning, families are eating healthier, and we've created something beautiful together. The key to success is community involvement. Gardens require daily attention, and we've learned that success depends on having dedicated volunteers who are committed to the long-term vision. The Springfield Community Garden Project serves as a model for urban communities seeking to improve food access, community health, and neighborhood connections. For those interested in getting involved, the garden holds volunteer orientation sessions every Saturday at 10 a.m. For Channel 7 News, I'm Emma Richards. Now let's test your comprehension of this news report. Question 1. How long has the Springfield Community Garden Project been running? Pause 10 seconds. 6 months. Question 2. What was the total funding received for the project? Pause 10 seconds. $33,000 total, $25,000 from the City Council, and $8,000 from local businesses. Question 3. What health benefits did Dr. Martinez mention? Pause 10 seconds. Physical exercise, improved cardiovascular health, reduced stress, and increased consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables. Question 4. What environmental challenge did the project face? Pause 10 seconds. Soil contamination from the lot's previous use as a gas station. Question 5. How many children participate in the education program? Pause 10 seconds. 30 students from 3 nearby elementary schools. Question 6. What ongoing challenges does the project face? Pause 10 seconds. Maintenance costs, seasonal weather challenges, and the need for continued volunteer participation. Let's review the news vocabulary. Initiative, a new project or program. Thriving, growing successfully. Vacant lot, empty piece of land. Overwhelming response, much more positive reaction than expected. Communal, shared by the community. Contamination, pollution or harmful substances. Remediation, the process of cleaning or fixing something. Comprehensive, thorough and complete. Integrated, combined or incorporated. Allocating, designating or setting aside money. Dedicated volunteers, committed people who donate their time. Long-term vision, future goals and plans. Our final segment is a casual conversation between two friends, Alex and Jordan, who are planning a surprise birthday party for their friend Sam. This dialogue will help you practice informal English, including slang, contractions, and conversational phrases. Listen for the planning details, the friends' different opinions, and how they resolve their disagreements. Pay attention to the casual, friendly tone and informal expressions. Here's the friendship conversation. Hey, Jordan, I'm so glad you could meet up. We really need to nail down the details for Sam's surprise party. Absolutely. I can't believe Sam's turning 30 next week. It feels like we were just in college together. So, what's the plan? Well, I've been thinking we should do something at my place. My backyard is pretty spacious, and we could set up tables outside if the weather's nice. That sounds great, but have you checked the weather forecast? It's been pretty unpredictable lately. You're right. I looked it up this morning, and there's a chance of rain on Saturday. Maybe we should have a backup plan? Definitely. We could always move everything inside if needed. Your living room is big enough for maybe 15 people, right? Yeah, that should work. Speaking of people, I've been going back and forth on the guest list. Should we invite Sam's coworkers or keep it just to close friends? That's tricky. I think Sam would appreciate having some work friends there, especially since they've been spending so much time together on that big project. You know what? You're probably right. Sam's always talking about how much fun the team is. I'll send invitations to Mike and Sarah from the office. Perfect. Now, what about food? Are we doing a full meal or just appetizers and cake? I was leaning toward appetizers and finger foods. It's more casual and people can mingle easier. Plus, it's way less stressful for us to organize. I love that idea. We could do a potluck style. Ask everyone to bring something. That way we get variety and it's not all on us. Brilliant! I'll coordinate who brings what so we don't end up with 10 desserts and no main dishes. Good thinking. What about decorations? Should we go with a specific theme? I was thinking we could do something related to Sam's favorite hobby. You know, how obsessed they are with hiking and nature. Oh, that's perfect. We could do green and brown colors, maybe some plants, and those string lights that look like little leaves. Yes! And I saw these cute wooden signs online that say things like adventure awaits and take a hike. Sam would get a kick out of those. Sam would absolutely love that. You're so creative. What about music? Should we make a playlist? I already started one. I've got all of Sam's favorite songs from college, plus some new stuff I know they've been listening to lately. You're on top of everything. One more thing. What about the actual surprise part? How are we getting Sam there without spoiling it? I've got it covered. I'm going to tell Sam that we're just hanging out, maybe watching a movie. Then, when we get to my house, everyone will be hiding in the backyard. That's genius! Sam will be so shocked, in the best way, of course. I really hope so. Sam deserves something special, especially after that stressful few months at work. It's going to be amazing. Sam is so lucky to have a friend like you who puts this much thought into making them happy. Aw, thanks. But honestly, I couldn't do this without you. You always have the best ideas and keep me organized. That's what friends are for. I'm so excited for Saturday. This is going to be the best surprise ever. Now let's check your comprehension of this friendship conversation. Question 1. What milestone birthday is Sam celebrating? Sam is turning 30. Question 2. What backup plan do they have in case of rain? They can move the party inside to Alex's living room. Question 3. What food style did they decide on? Appetizers and finger foods in a potluck style, where everyone brings something. Question 4. What theme did they choose for decorations? A nature hiking theme with green and brown colors, plants, and string lights. Question 5. How is Alex planning to get Sam to the party without spoiling the surprise? By telling Sam they're just hanging out and watching a movie. Let's review the casual friendship vocabulary. Nail down, to finalize or decide on details. Spacious, having a lot of room. Unpredictable, hard to predict or forecast. Going back and forth, changing your mind repeatedly. Tricky, difficult to decide. Leaning toward, preferring or favoring. Mingle, to socialize and move around talking to different people. Potluck, a meal where everyone brings a dish to share. Get a kick out of, to find something amusing or enjoyable. On top of everything, well organized and prepared. Spoiling it, ruining the surprise. That's what friends are for, expressing mutual support. Notice how Alex and Jordan used collaborative language like, "What do you think?" "You're right," and "good thinking." They also used contractions frequently, which is very natural in casual conversation. Congratulations! You've completed a full hour of intensive English listening practice. We've covered 5 different types of listening situations: a personal story, a job interview, a restaurant conversation, a news report, and a casual friendship dialogue. Each segment challenged different aspects of your listening comprehension. The travel story focused on narrative structure and past tense usage. The job interview tested your understanding of formal, professional English. The restaurant conversation practiced service interactions and polite requests. The news report challenged you with multiple speakers, formal vocabulary, and information processing. Finally, the friendship dialogue exposed you to casual, informal English with slang and contractions. Here are my top tips for improving your listening skills. First, don't expect to understand every word. Focus on getting the main ideas and key details. Native speakers also miss words sometimes. It's normal. Second, pay attention to context clues. If you don't understand a word, the surrounding words often give you hints about the meaning. Third, notice the speaker's tone and emotion. This helps you understand the situation and the relationship between speakers. Fourth, practice regularly with different types of content. Real-world English includes various accents, speeds, and topics. Finally, be patient with yourself. Listening comprehension improves gradually with consistent practice. Your homework for this week: choose one segment from today's episode and listen to it again. Try to write down the main points without looking at the transcript. Then, pick 3 new vocabulary words and use them in your own sentences. Remember, every time you practice listening, you're building stronger neural pathways in your brain for processing English. You're doing great work. Thank you for joining me for this intensive listening practice session. I'm Emma Richards, and I'll see you next time for another exciting episode of English Listening Practice. Keep listening, keep learning, and most importantly, keep believing in your progress. You've got this.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Artificial Fluency Podcast. I'm Emma, your host, and I am so excited you've decided to spend this hour with me today. Today, we're talking about an important topic: stop memorizing, start understanding. Many learners spend hours memorizing lists of words, grammar rules, or phrases. But does memorizing alone help you truly speak and understand English? I want to share a story about David, one of my friends, who struggled with this. David used to memorize long vocabulary lists before exams. He could repeat the words perfectly, but had trouble using them in real conversations. One day, he decided to change his approach. Instead of memorizing, he focused on understanding how words fit together in sentences and the meaning behind them. For example, rather than just learning the word challenge, David studied sentences like, "This project is a challenge because it requires teamwork," and "Facing challenges help us grow." He also listened to how native speakers use the word naturally. After a few weeks, David noticed he could speak more confidently and understand English better. He wasn't just recalling words, he was thinking in English. Understanding means connecting new words and grammar to real situations. Imagine you meet Sarah. Instead of memorizing phrases like, "How are you?" without knowing when to use them, you learn to notice how Sarah greets people at work or with friends. You pay attention to expressions and their feelings. When you do this, English becomes part of your thinking, not just something you repeat. It makes speaking and listening easier. Let me give you another example. My husband, James, wanted to improve his English for work. He stopped memorizing long lists of technical terms and started reading articles and listening to talks related to his field. He wrote down sentences he found interesting and tried to use those sentences in his daily emails and meetings. This helped him not only learn vocabulary, but also understand how to use it properly. He says this method gave him confidence and made learning more enjoyable. So, how can you start understanding instead of memorizing? First, listen to English every day. Find stories, news, or conversations that interest you. Don't focus on every word. Try to get the meaning of the whole sentence or idea. Second, practice speaking by using new words and phrases in sentences you create yourself. Don't just repeat, make it personal. For example, if you learn the word improve, say, "I want to improve my English speaking," or "She improves her skills every day." Third, read or listen to English material that is just a little bit challenging. When you find a sentence you don't understand, break it down. Look at the meaning of each word and how they work together. To help you practice, here is a short story about a teacher named Emma. Emma noticed her students memorized answers but couldn't explain ideas. She changed her teaching. Instead of giving them vocabulary lists, she asked students to explain words in their own sentences and talk about their experiences. One day, a student named Mark explained the word responsibility by talking about how he helps his wife with daily tasks at home. This showed real understanding, not just memorization. If you practice like Mark, you will find your English skills grow naturally. Understanding language means seeing how it fits into your life and daily experiences. Try this. Pick one new word each day. Listen to how people use it, make your own sentences, and use it in conversation with friends, family, or even yourself. Remember, English is a tool for communication, not just a list to memorize. When you focus on understanding, you'll find it easier to listen, speak, read, and write. A good friend of mine, Michael, wanted to improve his English for his job as a manager. At first, Michael tried memorizing long lists of business vocabulary. He could repeat the words in his office, but found it hard to join meetings or explain ideas clearly. One day, Michael changed his plan. He started to focus on understanding business conversations by listening carefully to how people spoke in meetings and how they used words. Instead of memorizing isolated words like deadline or budget, he listened to full sentences like, "We need to finish the project before the deadline," or "The budget for this quarter has increased." Michael began to practice these sentences by explaining them in his own words. He would say things like, "Our team must work fast because the deadline is soon," or "We have more money this quarter to spend." This helped him think in English and use vocabulary naturally. After a few weeks, Michael noticed he was more confident in meetings. He could follow conversations better and even contribute ideas without feeling stuck. His understanding of English improved much faster than when he was just memorizing. This shows the power of understanding English in context. When you see how words fit in sentences and how people use them every day, your brain starts to think in English. This is the key to speaking smoothly and listening well. Now, let's talk about grammar. Many learners try to memorize rules like use the past perfect tense or put ing at the end of verbs in continuous tense. But grammar is not just a set of rules to memorize. It is a tool to help you communicate clearly. Take Anna, a student I know. She used to memorize grammar rules without practicing much. She got confused in real conversations because she tried to think about rules while speaking. Then she changed her method. She started reading short stories and paying attention to how tenses were used naturally. For example, instead of memorizing the rule for past perfect, Anna noticed sentences like, I had finished my work before he arrived. She read several examples and listened to how native speakers use these tenses in daily talk. Anna practiced by telling her own stories about her day, using the tenses she heard. At first, she made mistakes, but with time, she got better. She stopped thinking about rules and began to feel when to use different tenses. This approach helped Anna speak more fluently. She understood that grammar is not just rules, but patterns that make communication clear. So, how can you learn grammar by understanding? Read and listen to English regularly. Notice patterns in how people speak and write. Try to use these patterns in your own sentences. When you do this, grammar will feel natural, not difficult. You will speak English more confidently without stopping to think about every rule. Let's explore vocabulary in more detail. Many learners think learning vocabulary means memorizing lists of words. But words have different meanings depending on how and where they are used. Take the word break. It can mean many things: to stop working, to separate, or to take a rest. For example, my phone broke, break the chocolate into pieces, and let's take a break. Learning just the word break is not enough. You need to understand its different meanings by seeing examples in real situations. I remember John, who learned English for traveling. He used to memorize words without understanding their use. When he said, I want to break to a shopkeeper, they looked confused. Later, John learned the phrase, take a break, and now he can say, I want to take a break, which means to rest. This shows why understanding words in context is important. You learn how to use words correctly and avoid mistakes. To build your vocabulary with understanding, try these steps. First, when you learn a new word, look for example sentences. For example, if you learn the word support, see how people use it. She supports her family, or the company supports its employees. Second, listen to English speakers and notice the words they use in different situations. Third, try to use new words in sentences about your life. For example, I support my husband with his work, or my wife supports me when I study. Practicing this way helps your brain remember words with their meaning, not just as isolated items. Now, let's talk about listening skills. Many learners find it hard to understand spoken English because it is fast and full of unknown words. A good way to improve listening is to focus on the overall meaning, not every single word. Imagine you listen to a story about a family trip. Even if you don't understand every word, you can understand the main idea: who went on the trip, what they did, and how they felt. I want to share an example about Mark and his wife Linda. They went to visit Mark's parents in another city. Mark listened carefully when his father talked about the history of their town. Even though some words were new, Mark understood the story because he focused on the main ideas and the feelings in his father's voice. Mark asked questions to make sure he understood, like, when did you move here? Or, what is your favorite place in the town? This shows listening is active. It's not just hearing words, but understanding ideas and asking questions. To practice listening, try these tips. Listen to English every day, even for a few minutes. Focus on the meaning of sentences and ideas. Don't worry about every word. If possible, write down new words or sentences you hear and try to understand them later. Ask yourself questions about what you listened to, like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Try to talk about what you heard with friends or family. Speaking practice is also important. Many learners hesitate to speak because they worry about making mistakes. But making mistakes is part of learning. Take the example of Susan, a learner who was shy at first. She started speaking English with her husband every day, even if she made mistakes. Her husband listened patiently and helped her correct sentences gently. Susan's confidence grew because she spoke regularly. She also learned from her mistakes and improved quickly. If you want to speak better, practice often. Don't wait until you feel perfect. Use English in daily life with your family, friends, or even by yourself. You can describe your day, tell stories, or explain your plans. For example, today I cooked dinner for my wife, or tomorrow I will visit my friend. Speaking this way helps you think in English, making conversations easier. Remember, understanding English means connecting words, grammar, listening, and speaking into real life. Try to learn English like you learn your first language, by listening, practicing, and understanding, not by just memorizing. When you focus on understanding, your English will improve naturally and quickly. Keep practicing every day with the English Pod community. We are here to help you grow your English skills step by step. Now, I want to share a final tip. Use your environment to practice understanding. For example, when you read signs, instructions, or labels, try to understand the meaning instead of just memorizing the words. If you are cooking, listen to recipes in English and try to follow the steps. When you talk with your husband or wife, try to explain things in English. All these small steps help your brain connect English to real life, making learning easier and more enjoyable. One helpful way is to tell stories about your own life. When you create stories, you use words and grammar naturally. You don't have to memorize anything. Take Peter, for example. Peter is learning English to communicate with his wife's family. Every evening, he practices by telling stories about his day. One day he said, "Today, I helped my wife in the garden. We planted tomatoes and watered the flowers." Peter didn't memorize this sentence. He simply talked about what he did. This made his speaking stronger because he was using real language connected to his life. You can try this too. Pick a moment from your day and tell a story about it in English. For instance, "Yesterday I cooked dinner," or "I went to the market with my wife." Another great tip is to learn phrases, not just single words. Phrases are groups of words that work together to express ideas. Let's look at the phrase, "take care of." It means to look after someone or something. For example, "I take care of my children," or "she takes care of the house." Learning phrases helps you speak more naturally and understand conversations better. Instead of trying to put words together one by one, phrases give you ready-made pieces of language. I remember Laura, who learned phrases instead of single words. She said, "Learning phrases helped me speak faster and understand what people say." Try to notice and practice common phrases when you listen or read English. Use them in your own speaking and writing. Now, let's talk about using questions to improve your understanding. Asking questions helps you think more deeply about English. If you hear a sentence like, "My husband enjoys reading books," you can ask yourself questions like, "What kind of books does he enjoy?" or "When does he read?" By asking questions, you connect ideas and learn more about the language. I want to share a story about Kevin, who practices English by asking questions. When he listens to conversations, he pauses and thinks, "Why did she say that?" or "What does he mean?" This helps Kevin understand not just words, but the meaning behind them. You can practice this too. When you read or listen, ask questions about the meaning and details. It makes learning active and interesting. Next, let's talk about using English in everyday situations. The more you use English in real life, the more you understand it. For example, when Sarah goes shopping with her husband, she practices by naming items in English and talking about prices. She might say, "This apple costs $2," or "We need to buy bread." Using English like this helps Sarah connect language with real things around her. It makes learning easier and more practical. You can do the same. When you are at home, work, or outside, try to describe things in English. Talk about what you see, hear, or do. Another useful method is to keep a small notebook or use your phone to write down new words and phrases. For example, James writes down sentences he hears from native speakers or in English lessons. Then he practices these sentences by reading them aloud and using them in conversations with his wife. This helps James remember language better because he sees it in context and uses it personally. If you do this regularly, your vocabulary and grammar will improve naturally. Let's also discuss how to deal with difficult words or sentences. Sometimes you might hear or read something you don't understand at first. Don't worry. Try to guess the meaning from the words you know and the situation. Context helps a lot. For example, if you hear, "We should leave early to avoid traffic," but don't know traffic, you can guess it means many cars on the road because of the word leave early. If you want to be sure, look up the word later and try to use it in sentences. Michael and his wife Emily often practice this way. When they hear a new word, they guess the meaning first and check later. This makes learning more natural and less stressful. Now, I want to encourage you to set small daily goals for English practice. For example, decide to learn 5 new phrases each day or listen to one short story. You can say, "Today I will use 3 new sentences when I speak with my husband," or "I will listen to an English conversation for 10 minutes." Small goals help you stay motivated and make steady progress. Remember, the key to success is understanding English in real life, not just memorizing words or rules. Focus on connecting language to your life, listening carefully, asking questions, and practicing regularly. These habits will make your English grow stronger every day. Let me tell you about Olivia, who improved her English by talking to her husband every evening. They shared their day and practiced new words and phrases together. Olivia's English became more natural because she used the language with people she trusts and talks to every day. You can do the same. Practice English with your husband, wife, family members, or friends. Speaking with others helps you understand how English works in conversation. Also, don't forget to be patient with yourself. Learning a language takes time. It is okay to make mistakes and learn from them. Every step you take towards understanding English is progress. Keep listening, speaking, reading, and writing as much as you can. Try to use English in your daily life, and you will see improvement. Finally, remember that the English Potted community is here to support you. We provide tips, stories, and practice ideas to help you stop memorizing and start understanding English naturally. Let's keep going with more ideas to help you understand English better and stop memorizing useless lists. One important skill is learning to guess meaning from context. When you hear or read something new, try not to panic if you don't know every word. Use the words around it and the situation. For example, imagine Anna is reading a recipe with the sentence, "Add 2 cups of flour and stir well." Anna doesn't know the word stir at first, but because she sees "add 2 cups of flour," she can guess stir means to mix the ingredients. This guessing skill is very useful. It helps you keep understanding English without stopping to look up every word. Another example is James and his wife, Emily. They like to read short articles in English together. When they find a new word, they try to guess its meaning first before checking the dictionary. Sometimes guessing meaning helps remember words better because your brain connects the word with the situation. Next, I want to talk about practicing speaking in a relaxed way. Many learners feel nervous about speaking English because they want to be perfect, but speaking is about communication, not perfection. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert started speaking English with his wife even though he made many mistakes. His wife helped him by listening patiently and encouraging him. Robert said, "I learned that it's okay to make mistakes. What matters is trying to speak and share ideas." You can practice the same way. Talk with your husband, wife, or friends. Don't worry about mistakes. The more you speak, the more confident you become. Try to use English in daily situations, like ordering food, asking for directions, or explaining your plans. For example, Sarah told me she says to her husband, "Let's buy some vegetables today," or "I will cook dinner tonight." These simple sentences help her practice naturally. Another useful technique is to repeat sentences or short paragraphs you hear. This is called shadowing. It helps improve your pronunciation and rhythm in English. For instance, if you listen to a story about a family picnic, try to repeat the sentences out loud after the speaker. John does this every day. He listens to short English videos and repeats what he hears. Over time, his speaking became smoother and clearer. You can do this with any English material you like, such as podcasts, news, or stories. Let's also discuss learning vocabulary through real-life experiences. The best way to remember words is by connecting them to what you do or see. For example, if you learn the word garden, you can visit a garden or look at pictures and talk about it. You might say, "The garden has many flowers," or "My wife and I plant vegetables in our garden." This connection makes words easier to remember and use. Try to use English when you do everyday tasks. For example, when you cook, name the ingredients in English. When you clean, describe what you are doing. Mark, a learner I know, started labeling items at home with English words. He put notes on the refrigerator, door, and furniture. This helped him remember words and use them naturally. Another important point is to practice listening with different types of English. English is spoken in many accents and speeds. Listening to different speakers helps you understand English better. For example, Michael listens to English from different countries, like the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. This helped him get used to different pronunciations. You can find English listening materials online or in apps. Try to listen to different speakers and styles. Also, it's okay to listen to the same material several times. Each time you listen, you understand more and notice new words or expressions. Now, let's talk about reading to improve understanding. Reading helps you see how English is used in sentences and stories. Try to read simple books, news articles, or short stories in English. If you find difficult words, guess the meaning first, then check if needed. You can also write short summaries of what you read. This helps you practice writing and understanding at the same time. Anna likes to read news articles and then tell her husband about them in English. She says this helps her remember vocabulary and speak more naturally. Writing short sentences about your day is also helpful. You can write, "Today I cleaned the house," or "I talked with my wife about our plans." Writing helps you organize your thoughts in English and use vocabulary and grammar better. Let's return to the idea of learning phrases and expressions. Phrases are groups of words that often go together. For example, make a decision, take a break, and get ready. Learning phrases helps you sound more natural and understand native speakers better. James and Emily learned many phrases by reading emails and talking about their day. They used phrases like catch up later and look forward to. Practicing phrases makes your English more natural and easier to understand. Lastly, I want to remind you to be patient and consistent. Learning English takes time and regular practice. Set small goals like learning 2 new phrases a day or speaking English for 5 minutes with your husband or wife. Remember, every small step counts. Keep listening, speaking, reading, and writing every day. Understanding English will come naturally when you connect language to your life. Let's continue by exploring how you can make English a part of your daily routine. The more you use English in real situations, the more you understand it deeply. Take David and his wife Lisa, for example. David works in an office where English is used often. Instead of trying to memorize long lists of words for his meetings, he decided to practice speaking English every day with Lisa at home. They made it a habit to talk about simple topics like their day, plans for the weekend, or cooking dinner. David would say things like, "Today I had a meeting with my manager," or "We will visit our friends on Saturday." By doing this, David learned to connect English words and phrases with his daily life. This helped him remember language better and use it naturally. You can do the same. Try to speak English with your family or friends regularly. It does not have to be perfect or long conversations. Short talks are very helpful. Another useful habit is to describe things around you in English. For example, when you are at home, you can say, "The kitchen is clean," or "My wife is cooking dinner." When you go outside, you might say, "The weather is sunny today," or "There are many people at the market." Describing your surroundings in English helps you practice new words and improve your ability to think in English. Let me share a story about John. John is a busy worker who wanted to improve his English but had little free time. He started using small moments during his days to practice English. When waiting for the bus, John would describe what he saw or thought in English. For example, "The bus is late today," or "I hope it will rain later." These small exercises helped John practice English without needing extra time in his day. You can try this too. Use moments during your day to practice thinking and speaking English quietly or out loud. Another important way to understand English better is to practice listening actively. Active listening means paying full attention and trying to understand the message, not just hearing words. For example, when you listen to someone talking about their plans, focus on what they want to do, when, and why. Let me tell you about Emily, who improved her listening by focusing on key information. Instead of trying to understand every word, she listened for important details like names, places, and times. This helped Emily understand conversations better and follow along without getting confused. You can practice active listening by listening to short English talks or stories and then summarizing what you heard in your own words. For example, after listening, say, "The story was about a family going on vacation," or "The speaker talked about his job and daily routine." Summarizing helps you check your understanding and remember the information. Another tip is to ask questions when you don't understand something. If you are in a conversation, don't be afraid to ask, "Can you please say that again?" or "What does this word mean?" Asking questions helps you learn and shows you are interested in understanding. I want to share a story about Michael and his wife Anna. Michael sometimes did not understand words in English, so he asked Anna to explain. She was happy to help and explained words in simple English. This made learning English easier and more fun for both of them. If you don't have someone to practice with, you can write down words or sentences you don't understand and look them up later. Reading in English is another great way to improve your understanding. Choose simple books, articles, or stories that interest you. Try to read a little every day, even if it is just a few sentences. When you find new words, try to guess their meaning from the sentence before checking the dictionary. You can also underline or write down new words and practice using them in your own sentences. Laura, a learner I know, reads short stories and then writes a few sentences about what she read. This helps her remember vocabulary and grammar better. You can do this too. After reading, write a short summary or tell someone about the story in English. Let's talk about practicing speaking with confidence. Many learners feel nervous about speaking because they fear making mistakes or not being understood. Remember, everyone makes mistakes when learning a language. The most important thing is to try and communicate. Take Sarah, for example. Sarah was shy at first, but started practicing English with her husband every day. Even when she made mistakes, her husband encouraged her. This support helped Sarah speak more confidently. Try to find someone you trust, like your husband, wife, or a friend, to practice speaking English. Start with simple topics like your daily routine, hobbies, or family. For example, "Today I cleaned the house," or "My wife and I went to the market." Speaking regularly helps you think in English and improves your fluency. Another helpful idea is to record yourself speaking English. Listen to your recording and notice areas where you can improve. Don't be too hard on yourself, celebrate your progress, and keep practicing. Now, let's discuss learning English through real-life tasks. Doing tasks in English helps you understand how language works. For example, if you are cooking, read the recipe in English and follow the steps. Say the steps out loud, like "add 2 eggs" or "stir the mixture." When you shop, try to use English words for the items you buy. For example, "I need apples," or "How much does this cost?" My friend David does this with his wife. They practice English together while cooking and shopping. This practical use of English helps David remember words and feel more comfortable speaking. You can try this approach too. Use English in your daily activities and connect language with real-life situations. Finally, set realistic goals for your English learning. Goals help you stay motivated and see your progress. For example, decide to learn 5 new words or phrases each week, or speak English for 10 minutes every day. Write your goals down and check your progress regularly. Remember, learning English is a journey. It takes time and effort, but with consistent practice and understanding, you will improve. Keep practicing with the English Pod community, and your English will grow stronger every day. Now, let me share one more story about a learner named Tom. Tom wanted to improve his English for his job. He stopped memorizing vocabulary lists and started focusing on understanding language in context. Tom listened to conversations at work, read emails, and practiced speaking with his wife every day. After a few months, Tom felt much more confident speaking English. He said, "Understanding English helped me communicate better and made learning easier." When you read and listen at the same time, your brain connects sounds with written words. This helps you recognize pronunciation, spelling, and meaning together. For example, Emma and her husband, Daniel, like to listen to short stories while following the text. Emma listens carefully to the pronunciation and then reads the same sentence aloud. This practice helps Emma improve both her listening and speaking skills. She also learns new words and grammar naturally. You can try this too. Find simple stories or articles that come with audio. Listen to the story first, then read the text. After that, try to read the story aloud yourself. This method helps your brain get used to how English sounds and looks, making it easier to understand and speak. Another tip is to use English in writing. Writing helps you organize your thoughts and remember vocabulary and grammar better. Try keeping a daily journal in English. You don't need to write long stories, just simple sentences about your day. For example, "Today I went to the market with my wife," or "I cooked dinner and cleaned the kitchen." My friend Anna writes a few sentences every day. She says this helps her think in English and improves her vocabulary. You can also write emails or messages to friends or family in English. This real communication makes writing practice more meaningful. Now let's talk about practicing English by teaching others. Teaching someone else what you learn is a great way to understand English deeply. Take Michael, for example. Michael practices English by explaining new words and grammar rules to his wife. Sometimes he helps his friends with English too. When Michael teaches, he needs to understand the language well to explain clearly. This helps him remember and use English better. If you have a chance, try teaching simple English to a family member or friend. You will find that explaining language helps you understand it more. Next, I want to talk about how patience and regular practice make a big difference. Learning English is like building a house. You start with a strong foundation and build step by step. For example, James started learning English slowly. Every day he learned new words, practiced speaking with his wife, and listened to English stories. After months of practice, James could speak more confidently and understand conversations better. You can build your English step by step too. Practice a little every day. Don't rush or try to learn everything at once. Celebrate your progress, even small steps. Each day you practice, you get closer to your goal. Another helpful habit is to use English learning apps or websites. Many apps have lessons that focus on understanding language in context. For example, Sarah uses an app that teaches phrases and expressions through stories and conversations. She listens and repeats sentences and practices speaking. Apps like these help Sarah learn English in a natural and enjoyable way. You can try using apps that fit your level and interests. Use them daily for short practice sessions. Now let's talk about practicing English pronunciation. Good pronunciation helps others understand you clearly. You can practice by listening to native speakers and repeating what they say. Focus on sounds that are different or difficult for you. For example, John noticed he had trouble with the th sound. He practiced words like think, and that every day. His wife helped him by listening and giving feedback kindly. You can also record yourself and compare your pronunciation with native speakers. Remember, perfect pronunciation is not necessary. Clear and understandable speech is the goal. Next, I want to share a useful tip about learning new words. Instead of memorizing isolated words, learn them with examples and in phrases. For example, learn the word help with phrases like, "Can you help me?" or "I help my wife with cooking." This helps you remember how to use the word correctly and naturally. My friend Laura learned many words this way and improved her speaking a lot. Try to notice how words are used in real sentences when you read or listen. Practice these sentences yourself. Finally, let's talk about staying motivated on your English learning journey. Sometimes learning a new language can feel difficult or slow. It's normal to feel this way. Remember your reasons for learning English. Maybe it is for work, travel, or to communicate better with your family. Keep these reasons in mind when you practice. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Try to connect English learning with things you enjoy or need in your life. For example, if you like cooking, learn food-related vocabulary and practice talking about recipes with your wife. If you want to travel, learn common phrases for directions and asking questions. When learning is useful and interesting, it feels easier and more fun. Let me share a story about Kevin. Kevin wanted to improve his English to talk with his wife's family. He set small goals like learning 5 new words each week and practicing speaking for 10 minutes daily. Kevin stayed motivated by seeing his progress and using English in daily life. You can do this too. Set small goals, practice regularly, and remember your reasons for learning English. The English Pod community is here to support you every step of the way. Keep practicing and your English will improve day by day. Now, let me tell you about a simple practice you can start today. Pick a short English article or story. Read it carefully. Listen to the audio if available. Write down new words and phrases. Try to make your own sentences using those words. Speak your sentences aloud. Try to use them in conversation with your husband, wife, or friends. This simple routine helps connect learning to real life and makes English easier to understand and use. Remember, stop memorizing and start understanding. Your English journey will become smoother and more enjoyable when you focus on meaning, context, and practice. Let's continue by exploring how small changes in your daily routine can make a big difference in understanding English better. One effective method is to use English in simple conversations throughout your day. For example, Tom and his wife, Rachel, decided to speak English during breakfast every morning. Tom would say things like, "Good morning, Rachel. Did you sleep well?" And Rachel would reply, "Yes, thank you. What are our plans today?" These short, natural exchanges helped both of them improve their vocabulary and confidence without feeling pressured. You can start by using simple greetings and questions in English with your husband, wife, or family. This creates a comfortable environment to practice regularly. Another helpful habit is to describe your feelings and thoughts in English. For example, Anna tells her husband, "I feel happy today because the weather is nice," or "I am tired after work." Expressing emotions in English helps you learn new words and makes your conversations more meaningful. If you don't know how to say certain feelings, look up simple words like happy, sad, excited, or tired and practice using them. Now, let's talk about learning English by reading instructions and manuals. This is practical because it helps you understand real-world language. For instance, David and his wife often read cooking recipes together. They read sentences like, "Preheat the oven to 180 degrees," or "Mix the flour and sugar." Reading and following instructions improves your understanding of verbs and common phrases. It also helps with vocabulary related to daily activities. Try to find simple instructions for tasks you do, like assembling furniture, using a new appliance, or gardening. Reading these in English and trying to follow them helps you connect language with actions, making understanding easier. Next, I want to talk about learning English through questions and answers. Asking questions is a natural way to learn and understand language. When you ask questions, you practice using different sentence forms and vocabulary. For example, Sarah asks her husband, "What did you do today?" And he replies, "I worked in the garden." You can practice by thinking of simple questions about your day, family, or plans. Try to answer questions about yourself in English. For example, where do you live? What do you like to eat? This method helps you prepare for real conversations and improves your ability to understand others. Let me share a story about Michael and Anna. They play a question and answer game in English every evening. Michael asks, "What is your favorite food?" And Anna answers, "I like pasta." Then Anna asks, "What do you do on weekends?" And Michael replies. This fun activity helps them practice English and learn from each other. You can try this with your family or friends. It makes learning interactive and enjoyable. Another useful tip is to use flashcards with pictures and sentences. For example, James made flashcards with pictures of fruits. On one side, he has a picture of an apple, and on the other side, the word apple and a sentence. "I eat an apple every day." Using flashcards helps connect words with images and meaning. It also helps you remember vocabulary better. You can create flashcards for different topics, like food, clothes, places, or actions. Practice with your husband, wife, or friends. Show them a picture and try to say the sentence aloud. This method makes learning active and fun. Now, let's talk about how to improve your understanding by focusing on key words in sentences. When you listen or read, try to catch the most important words that give meaning. These are usually nouns, verbs, and adjectives. For example, in the sentence, "My wife cooked a delicious meal yesterday," the key words are wife, cooked, delicious, and meal. Even if you don't understand every word, focusing on these key words helps you get the main idea. Anna uses this method when listening to English conversations. She listens for the key words and tries to understand the message. You can practice by listening to short sentences and identifying the important words. Try to guess the meaning even if some words are new. Another important skill is to repeat and practice common expressions. For example, greetings like "How are you?" or polite phrases like "Thank you very much" are used every day. Michael and his wife Laura practice these expressions regularly. They say "Good morning" when they meet and "Have a nice day" when they leave. Practicing these common phrases helps you sound natural and polite in conversations. Try to learn a few new expressions every week and use them with your family and friends. Next, I want to share a simple exercise to improve your understanding and speaking. Pick a short paragraph from a book or article. Read it carefully and try to understand the meaning. Then, cover the text and try to say the paragraph aloud in your own words. This exercise helps you practice speaking and understanding at the same time. My friend John does this daily. He says it helped him improve his fluency and confidence. You can do this too with any reading material you like. Finally, I want to encourage you to celebrate your progress regularly. Learning English is a journey. Sometimes progress feels slow, but every effort counts. Talk with your husband or wife about what you have learned. Share new words, phrases, or sentences. This sharing helps you remember and motivates you to keep practicing. Remember, stop memorizing and start understanding. Focus on connecting English to your life, practicing regularly, and using language in real situations. With patience and practice, your English will improve step by step. Let me tell you about something that happened with a student named Paul. Paul had been learning English for almost 5 years. Every day, he would write down 10 new words in his notebook. He had pages full of vocabulary, but when he had to speak, he froze. He couldn't remember the words or use them naturally in a sentence. One day, he came to me and said, "Myra, I don't understand. I memorized so many words, but I still can't speak well." I smiled and said, "Paul, let's try something new. No more memorizing lists. Let's understand words in real situations." So we read a short story together. In the story, there was a man named Mr. Clark who got lost in a small town. He asked people for help. Words like directions, corner, block, and intersection came up. After reading, Paul understood how these words were used in real life. We then practiced with role play. I acted as a stranger, and Paul had to give me directions. It was a little funny at first because he got the streets mixed up, but he laughed and said, "I get it now. This is how people really talk." That one story helped him more than a week of word lists. He learned not only the words, but how to use them with confidence. So here's the message. When you stop memorizing and start understanding, your brain connects ideas better. Another example is with a woman named Sarah. Sarah was a nurse and wanted to improve her English to speak with her patients. She used to memorize health-related vocabulary like fever, cough, headache, medicine. But during her shift, she couldn't use them naturally. We changed her study plan. Instead of memorizing, we talked through situations. For example, what would she say to a patient who had stomach pain? What questions would she ask? What would the patient answer? By practicing small dialogues and understanding why we use certain words, Sarah improved quickly. She became more confident and her patients felt more comfortable. Understanding is like building a house. Memorizing words is like collecting bricks. But if you don't know how to use them, you don't have a house. You just have a pile of bricks. Now, think about this. Have you ever heard someone say a sentence like, "I yesterday supermarket went"? You might know all the words, but they're not in the right order. That's what happens when we memorize without understanding grammar and usage. Here's something we did with another learner, James. James worked in customer service. He wanted to improve his phone conversations with clients. Instead of giving him grammar rules or long lists of business phrases, we focused on natural speech. We listened to short calls, paused after each line, and asked, "Why did the speaker say this? What was the purpose?" Then James practiced using those same phrases in his real calls. He felt more natural and customers started saying things like, "You explained that so clearly." James told me later, "Now I understand the language. I don't just remember the words." Let's look at another way to understand English better. It's called chunking. Chunking means learning groups of words together instead of single words. For example, instead of learning take and break separately, you learn the phrase take a break as one idea. We had a student named Hannah who always said, "I take rest," because she knew the word take and rest. But that's not natural in English. We say, "I take a break" or "I get some rest." When we taught her using chunks, she started sounding more fluent. We gave her small conversations to read and highlight phrases like "at the moment," "a couple of," "by the way," and "in charge of." These helped her understand how English flows. Here's another powerful method. Ask yourself questions while listening. Imagine you're watching a short video or listening to a story. Don't just hear the words. Ask, who was speaking? What is the situation? Why did they say that? What do they mean? This active thinking trains your brain to connect ideas instead of just remembering sounds. Let's say a man says, "I'm running late, but I'll be there in 10 minutes." You might understand each word, but ask, what's the situation? Maybe he's late for a meeting. He's informing someone. The word running here doesn't mean exercise. It means he's behind schedule. Understanding like this helps you speak better too. Another learner, Michael, used to say, "I listened English podcast." He didn't understand he needed to after listen. So we practiced common structures. Listen to, talk to, depend on, care about. He asked, "Why do we say listen to but not hear to?" That question led to a great discussion, and the answer helped him remember and use the language correctly. Understanding grammar is not about big books. It's about noticing patterns. Like, I go to work every day. She goes to work every day. Notice how go changes to goes with she. You don't need to memorize rules like third-person singular. Just notice how people speak and copy